miles exactly. If you have not reached 6.34 miles on the EV trail, working on an hour's sleep. So, how are we feeling? That's more like it. All right, stay with us. We're going to turn the music up and we'll be ready to go in about 6 minutes. So please.
Okay, so I just finished the half marathon. I did it in about an hour 34. Here's the medal. They gave me some chips, Pop-Tarts, some new water, and yeah, it's a pretty nice day outside. Gonna go and walk around a little bit and eat this with my wife in the car because it's kind of cold, but it's a nice scenery. As you see, it's a nice day in Everett, so we're gonna enjoy this and rest up. I'll be providing a recap of the race later today. So, peace. Hey guys, this is Chris. This is the day after the half marathon in Everett. So I'm gonna do a really quick recap of what I experienced from bib pickup to cost to running the half marathon to the crowds to the very end. Yeah, so let's get into it. So I decided to run this half marathon. Well, because I actually was going to run a 10K called the Hot Chocolate. It's a series of runs, and they have several across the country, which one of them is in Seattle, but due to some issues with the city, they had to cancel it. It's actually 15K, so they had a 15 and a 5K, so they ended up canceling it, giving us a refund. But I still wanted to run a race in between my training before my actual marathon on the 1st of May. So I was researching different races in the Seattle area, and I saw that there's a Everett Half Marathon, which came out to be the same price as a Hot Chocolate. The Everett Half Marathon with tax, I think, was $80, and the Hot Chocolate was $75 for the 15K. So this is a 21K, 13.1 miles. So I decided to run it. I signed up immediately as soon as the other race was canceled. Me and my wife ran it. She ran the 10K and I ran the half marathon. So we got a whole bunch of emails leading up to the race. So they have different days to go pick up your packet, your bib number, and your commemorative hoodie. So the packet pickups were between Wednesday and Saturday. It was all the way up north in a city called Snohomish, which is closer to Everett. It's kind of far from where I live. I live in Seattle. But they did have an option to pick up the day of the race about an hour and a half before the race started. So the race started at 8 a.m. So you had a chance to pick up your packet between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m. The email, so they mentioned a hard cutoff at 7:30. Not sure how strict they were about that, because my wife and I arrived there around 6:40, 6:45, and there was still not a lot of people when we picked up our packet. But yeah, so we arrived there at that time. You had the option to pay for parking beforehand, or once you arrived, it was $5 for parking. We ended up paying before arriving, so we didn't have to worry about that. But luckily there weren't a lot of people at that time. But slowly and surely people started arriving, and there was, I think, over 500 participants between the the 10K and the half marathon. So they had the tent there to pick up your packet. They had some porta potties, and you started right off the next to the marina near downtown Everett. Everett, it's a small, not small, but it's a suburb of Seattle. It's about a 35-minute drive once leaving the city limits. But yeah, it started the race at 8 a.m. It started a little afterwards. They were trying to make sure the course was clear, so it started close to like 8:05. They had pacers starting at 1 hour and 30 minutes and incrementing 5 minutes up to, I think they had pacers up to 2 hours. I had lined up with the 135. I initially wanted to start at the 130, but I woke up with a sore knee, the outer knee, and I think it's because of my run the day before. If you saw my other video, I ran 20 miles because of my prep. I'm in the middle of the height of my mileage, so I had to do that run. So I think that's why I was a little sore, even though I ran a very slow, easy pace. I think about a 8:30 pace. So that's maybe why, because of the long distance. But I just woke a little sore, so I just pulled back a little bit, ran with the 135 pace group, and I kept up with them. The course is mostly flat. There were about 2 climbs. You cross some bridges. You run through the highway a little bit up to a town called Marysville, and you end up on like a little pond, and then you do a loop back right around the halfway point. You is pretty, like I mentioned, it's pretty flat. You cross the bridges. The bridges are the ones where the climbs. So once you get to the climbs, they're declined. The pacer group was the Green Lake Runners. It's a group that runs on where I run at Green Lake, which is a lake in Seattle. It's almost a 3-mile circumference running around. But those people were great. They kept the pace pretty well. Those guys were very encouraging, and I stayed with them the whole time. When we first started the race, I think there was about 10, 12 people who were keeping up with them. I stayed a little bit back, just behind them. But as the race kept going and going, by mile 6.5, when we were doing that loop back, there was only 5 of us, and by mile 10, there was only 3 of us with the other 2 pacers, and then by mile 11 and a half, it was only me and the pacers for the 135. So once I got to mile 12, that's when I decided just to put all the energy I have and run the last 1.1 mile, and I ended up finishing just a little over an hour 34, which is a PR for me, a personal record for a half marathon split. In the Honolulu, I ran the marathon there, and my split there was an hour 35 and a half. I ended up finishing that marathon at 3 hours and 10 minutes and 54 seconds. So I ran this pretty well, pretty happy, given that it was not a hard course, not flat, but also not descending, just average course. So once I finished, they have a big sign of, you finish, and the clock of the time. And as soon as you arrive, they have water right there for you and some noon electrolyte. One thing I forget, during the run, they had, I believe, 4 water hydration stops for you. So, and 2 of those, they had power gels, honey flavor. So I did take one about mile 8, which was a little over an hour, about an hour or so. So I did take one of those. But yeah, once you finish, they had the water, more electrolyte, noon water, and then they had Pop-Tarts, some potato chips, onion flavored chips, and ding dongs, and that was pretty much it. You got your medal, and on the way you went. So this was actually my first official half marathon. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It gives me a little preparation for the marathon. Will I run this race again? Not really. I think I can find a different race around here that's a half marathon or 10, 15K that maybe is a little bit more supported. When I was running it in the middle of it, there weren't a lot of crowds. It was basically as soon as you left the marina, the start of the race, it was pretty much dead. You might see like a family here just cheering you on maybe, but it was like pretty quiet race. It was you and the other people. Nothing against the race or anything. I was hoping a little bit more on the finish line, not during the race. I was hoping a better snacks or something. I don't know. Given I ran the Portland one, that one was fantastic. I recommend running that marathon. But overall, this is we got this sweatshirt. Yeah, so it says straight out of Everett's. So you got that, and this was the medal there. Hopefully it focuses. But yeah, that was what we got. And afterwards, my wife and I we found a new, I don't know if it's new, but it was a pretty newish bakery. She used to work up there, not anymore, but it's called Choux Choux Bakery. And they have a whole bunch of French desserts. Some I actually have cakes, danishes, baguettes. I ended up getting a cinnamon roll. I love cinnamon rolls, and actually that one was really good. And she ended up getting a croissant, egg, bacon, and cheese sandwich. We enjoyed that after the race, and then we went and we actually went to the gym and lifted some weights. It worked out a little bit more. And actually, I did the elliptical a little bit too because I was feeling stiff after the race, so I needed to walk and move a little bit more afterwards. So I ended up doing that. But yeah, as a recap, half marathon Everett. It was fun. A prep race for my marathon. Will I do it again? No. Was it a terrible half marathon? No, it wasn't terrible. I was expecting a little bit more, but overall, for $80 to run it, to be supported, and to have a certified time, it was good. So thanks for watching the video, and I'll be posting more about my prep training up to the Vancouver, British Columbia Marathon. That's on May 1st. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.